Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, August 5th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. California is taking action in response to the increasing number of COVID patients ending up in the hospital and the ICU. All healthcare workers must now get vaccinated before the end of September. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel has the urgent message from San Diego County hospitals on what's expected this fall if vaccine rates don't increase.
We are today at Scripps Health. We have 122 patients in the hospital. At our peak in January, we had 500.
Although hospitalizations are nowhere near the peak that was seen in January, Dr. Gonzalez Sharif with Scripps Health says those numbers are quickly picking up. They're also starting to see younger patients come in.
We have somebody in house who was 23. We have a 24, 25-year-old. These are unvaccinated.
County health officials announced Wednesday that 2 million people have been fully vaccinated. It's a great milestone, but Sharif says we still have a ways to go to reach herd immunity.
Otherwise, we're going to keep doing this COVID cycle. More variants will come in. My concern is at some point, do we get to a variant that the vaccine is infected against at all? Because we have not gotten to that herd immunity level yet.
Sharif understands that people are fatigued from pandemic restrictions, but she says it's time to buckle down.
The biggest thing we can do right now is go back to masking, distancing, all the things we know worked before that we kind of let up on.
Christopher Longhurst with UCSD Health also agrees.
Somebody described it recently as being like a wildfire in California, and Delta was the spark that lit the flame, but the change in masking measures is really the wind that carried it.
Longhurst says unless there's significant changes in public health restrictions, numbers will continue to increase through September and October. There currently is no masking mandate in the county. Meanwhile, neighboring counties with similar infection rates have issued mask mandates to mitigate the spread of the virus. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
Public health experts nationwide are sounding the alarm. If vaccination rates don't increase, the dangerous Delta variant could continue to evolve. As Isabel Rosales reports, the surge and low vax rates has sent the U.S. backwards in the pandemic.
A grim projection. The CDC expects hospitalizations and deaths from COVID-19 will rise in the U.S. over the next month.
We have known that this virus is unpredictable, and we have been relentless in our efforts to get people vaccinated.
The U.S. now averaging more than 90,000 new COVID-19 cases per day. Dr. Anthony Fauci predicts that number could double and worries about future potential variants worse than Delta.
There is a very, very long-standing tenet in virology that viruses cannot mutate unless they replicate.
The message appears to be getting through. The CDC reports a near 20% increase in vaccinations over last week.
I've made the decision that it's time to be vaccinated.
The Biden administration battling to get the pandemic under control, now reevaluating travel restrictions, planning vaccine requirements for troops, and ramping up community vaccination efforts.
I am echoing the president's call to action to host pop-up vaccine clinics in every school across the country.
As health experts battle vaccine misinformation,
go to your doctor. Listen to what your doctor says.
Moderna seeks to apply for full FDA approval for its COVID-19 vaccine this month. Pfizer has already applied. In Washington, Isabel Rosales, KPBS News.
In San Diego, more than 90% of COVID-19 cases are among the unvaccinated, but numbers of those fully vaccinated and catching the virus are rising. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says hospitalizations and deaths among those vaccinated are still very low.
To be honest, the last month or so, I've haven't been wearing a mask inside grocery stores, and we've been inside crowded restaurants.
City Heights resident Suzanne Hoyam and her husband were both vaccinated in April and slowly started returning to a pre-pandemic lifestyle.
Kind of enjoying that freedom I thought we had.
But after recently feeling under the weather and lightheaded, she decided to get a coronavirus test, and it came back positive, making her one of nearly 3,000 breakthrough cases in San Diego.
My symptoms were very, very mild, almost so much that I probably wouldn't have gotten tested if I hadn't been so paranoid about breakthrough cases.
Her husband also caught the virus despite being vaccinated. Their symptoms have been mild and they haven't had to seek medical attention.
I really feel grateful that I'm vaccinated. I'm so grateful that my symptoms are minimal. Like, I really do feel like the only reason why I'm, walking and talking and standing here is because I'm vaccinated.
Medical experts say cases like Hoyam's show that despite infection, the vaccines are working, protecting against death and hospitalizations.
Even though there are more breakthrough infections, they're definitely very mild and short-lived in vaccinated persons.
Dr. Francesca Torriani is an infectious disease specialist at UC San Diego Health. She says the more contagious Delta variant could be the reason for the uptick in cases among those fully vaccinated.
We do see more breakthroughs than we ever saw before. And this may simply be because Delta the Delta variant is associated with so much more virus.
Since March of this year, around 9% of coronavirus infections here have been among those fully vaccinated, and they account for just 2% of hospitalizations and 7% of deaths.
So this pandemic is still an unvaccinated pandemic.
Torriani says the Delta variant is changing the fight against the pandemic, especially since infections in those fully vaccinated can be extremely mild, but the virus can still be spread.
That's why masking as protection of others, right? So that I don't infect others, so that this is source control, is so important.
Hoyam isn't sure how she caught the virus, but she says she's now back to masking and at least for now is not sold on returning to normal.
I was, flying real close to the sun there, like enjoying what I could. And now I'm kind of going to dial it back. And if I'm a cautionary tale, I would just say to dial it back a little bit and maybe we're not out of the woods yet.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And a reminder that everyone age 12 and up may be eligible for a vaccine. And you can find more information on our website, kpbs.org, and just click on the vaccines link that you'll find on our homepage. Sample recall ballots went out in the mail today. Meantime, some of those who want to replace Governor Gavin Newsom made their thoughts known in a debate. Here's Tom Waite.
4 Republicans vying to unseat Gavin Newsom on a debate stage to duke it out. Former Mayor of San Diego Kevin Faulconer, San Diego businessman and former gubernatorial candidate John Cox, Northern California Assemblyman Kevin Kiley, and former Congressman and businessman Doug Osee. On vaccines and mask mandates, the candidates want to take California in a very different direction.
Look at what other states have done. I mean, I compare California to Florida. I have 2 nephews that live in Orlando. They were able to go to school the whole time.
My view here is that instead of giving people mandates, we need to give them options.
I believe in personal choice.
I urge everyone to get vaccinated. Vaccinations is how we get our way out of this. I'm vaccinated. My family is vaccinated.
Assemblyman Kiley was asked about mask mandates for kids as they head back to school.
I'm 100% against a mask mandate at the state level. California is one of only a handful of states that has one, and I think that a lot of the authority to impose that stems from the state of emergency. So I would terminate the state of emergency on day one.
On tackling California's ongoing crises like homelessness, all 4 took aim at Governor Gavin Newsom.
Hotels for homeless, not an answer. All it does is take somebody who's dying on the street and put them in a hotel room where they can die.
And I'm going to focus first and foremost on making California affordable. I put forward the largest tax cut in California history for our middle class because we need it.
Newsom was also hammered for the unemployment crisis.
Just answer the damn phone, all right? Just answer the damn phone.
The candidates also piled on Newsom, claiming he's created a climate that's bad for business and the state.
Just to start a new business in California now, it takes 6 to 12 months to get the paperwork done. And then you've got all kinds of problems with bureaucracy and regulations.
All four agreed less regulation and lower taxes are critically needed.
We have a governor who doesn't seem to think that it's a problem because people are voting with their feet. And for the first time, we lost population last year. We lost a congressional seat, of course, because of these terrible policies.
That was Tom Waite reporting. A reminder, the special election is set for September 14th. All registered voters will get a ballot in the mail. You can check your registration online at sdvote.com. California's largest active wildfire has wiped out much of one town, endangering anyone who did not heed evacuation orders. And as Camila Bernal explains, this wildfire season is predicted to continue through September or maybe even longer.
The flames from the Dixie Fire sweeping through the Greenville community in Northern California. Much of the town wiped out.
We lost Greenville tonight, and there's just not words for how us and government haven't been able to get the job done.
Destructive wildfires are becoming increasingly common. Representative Doug LaMalfa pointing to what fires have done to communities not just this year, but also in previous ones.
Forget the politics, forget the nonsense. We have to stop making this happen by inattention to what is obvious.
The Dixie Fire has consumed more land than any of the 12 large active fires in California that in total have destroyed more than 475,000 acres. The flames forcing thousands in the state to evacuate.
If you receive an evacuation warning, please go. And if you receive an order, get out. Do not take your chances.
Across the country, 100 large active fires have scorched nearly 2 million acres, and the future looks grim. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, the drought and above normal temperatures could extend this wildfire season until September or even October and November for Southern California. Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
It has been a hot one out there, and we are going to keep things hot and sunny as we head through the next few days, staying pretty dry. The good news is we're tapering heat off just a little bit. That means we're getting away from the heat advisories, excessive heat warnings. They won't really be in effect anymore, and we will, again, see a slight ease in those temperatures. Tonight, 66 the low for San Diego. Couple of marine clouds, but really limited as far as that marine layer, as we've seen the past couple of days. Borrego Springs coming in at 81 for the low. Futurecast shows, yes, there will be some coastal clouds, but not a ton. We're not talking about a big marine layer. It's getting to the time of year where we just don't tend to have a pretty extensive threat for that. But as we move throughout the day, lots of sunshine out there, and tomorrow we are talking just slightly cooler. Why, you might ask? Well, actually, it's all the activity in the northwestern United States that's suppressing and weakening the high overhead, and that's why our temperatures will ease off just a little bit for us. So 75 the high tomorrow. Well, Oceanside 75 for you. Chula Vista coming in at 76. Mount Laguna closer to 80 degrees. And that's going to kind of be the trend here for the next couple of days. We'll keep things warm and dry, not a whole lot happening. We also won't be talking about excessive heat. That's the good news. And monsoonal flow will probably return to parts of Arizona. Not so much for our area, though. The next few days, again, a little bit cooler. Mid-70s on the board here as we go through our coastal locations. Just a couple of clouds out there. And as we take you inland, well, that's going to be a little closer to the mid-80s, but still pretty comfortable, especially as we get to Sunday and Monday. Really not a bad weather trend for us. Mountain locations will actually be in the mid-70s here for Sunday and Monday, even looking good into Tuesday as we keep things, again, a little bit cooler than where we typically find them. Desert locations close to the 110 range, or maybe even just a little bit under. Monday could be one of the cooler days of the week. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
A scathing report from San Diego State University found that the county agreed to pay an unqualified contractor $30 million to operate COVID-19 isolation hotels. iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Delaney has the story.
The company doesn't have the credentials to do the job and employs staff without the proper training. The result? Gaps in services that may have led to overdoses and suicide. Those are among the findings about Equus Workforce Solutions. The county hired SDSU to evaluate the program after iNewsSource reported mismanagement in February. A county spokesperson defended the program, saying officials quickly responded to an unprecedented pandemic. It's unknown when county supervisors will discuss the report. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Cody Dulaney.
And if you or someone you know is considering suicide, call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. A local military veteran who survived the attack at Pearl Harbor has died of COVID-19. Stu Headley was the sole survivor on the battleship West Virginia. In a tweet, San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria said Stu Headley is a hero. He survived Pearl Harbor and spent the rest of his life ensuring San Diegans never forgot the date that lives in infamy. He would have turned 100 years old on October 31st. As the more contagious Delta variant circulates, many parents are anxious about how to best protect their children, especially since there's no vaccine available for those under 12 years old. So we asked experts in public health how they are keeping their own children safe.
I think there's a lot that schools and childcare can do to make sure that kids are safe, and there's a lot of questions that parents can ask just to make sure that that's happening. Two of the biggest things are ventilation and masking for kids who are old enough to mask every day. We know that masking is incredibly effective to prevent in-school spread for older kids. We saw that last year. And then whatever a school or a childcare can do to make sure that there is as much fresh air and ventilation as possible. If you're comfortable asking other parents or teachers if they're vaccinated, and encouraging all of the adults who are around the kids to be vaccinated is another really important way to protect them.
In terms of group activities, it's a little trickier. I'll give you an example. This weekend, we had a couple of families get together, and we really had to reach out to all the parents and communicate about vaccination status. All the families and kids that were eligible were vaccinated, but there were some below age 12. And we had to do testing to know that it was really safe to be together. And then those kids that were less than age 12 actually wore masks indoors. So it takes a lot of management, a lot of discussion about how to mitigate your risk and how to decrease your risk. And we try to spend as much time outdoors as possible.
And you can listen to the full interviews from Midday Edition on kpbs.org. There is a major effort underway in the U.S. to shut down the multi-billion-dollar trade in exotic animals such as lions, tigers, and leopards. Some of these big cats wind up in sanctuaries like the one right here in San Diego County. KPBS reporter John Carroll takes us there.
Set among the rolling hills of San Diego County's backcountry, just a few miles outside of Alpine, a menagerie, 93 acres of sanctuary. And a name, lions, tigers, and bears, a home for rescued animals.
The exotic animal trade suck into drugs and weapons and human trafficking in our country. These animals are used, abused, and bred for nothing more than profit. Nola! Come on, Nola!
Bobby Brink is the founder and director of Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Home to dozens of animals, not just the ones in the title. Bobcats, goats, a llama, along with some horses and birds live here too. It is accredited by the American Sanctuary Association, and that's important.
A true sanctuary rescues, provides a lifetime home, does not breed, sell, or trade animals.
Videographer Mike Damron and I were here last Thursday, International Tiger Day.
At least 10,000 tigers are kept in captivity as pets.
People begin their time here watching a video explaining how the animals they're about to see got here. But this being International Tiger Day, there was something special. Treats hidden in cardboard creations, raw meat for Nola and Mocha. It costs either $43 or $46 for adults depending on the day, and $26 for children for a day's visit. The 15,000 yearly visitors help pay the bills.
It's about $15,000 a year to feed just one cat. And then, of course, our biggest expenses are building these vast habitats, insurance, pumping the water, electricity, keeper salary. All these animals got to have someone to take care of them daily. So yeah, it's not cheap.
About $2 million a year to take care of 65 animals. So while visitors help with daily expenses,
we do survive on donations.
Donations that help pay for big costs, like the rehabilitation of the animals. A lot of them are in bad shape when they arrive. The life these bears lived before getting here is stomach-turning.
Baloo behind me is a perfect example, what we call pit bears. So they're literally in cinder block pits where the bears can't see out, kept in breeding pairs, and then when the babies are born, they pull the babies about 8 days, 6-8 days from the mama. They take them up top where the mama can hear and smell them but can't see them for people to get their picture taken.
Do you still get angry at your fellow human beings?
I have to control my temper a lot because you can't lose your temper or we lose. And we want to get the animals out of there. And sometimes this can take like years, 5-6 years to get animals out of just disgusting places.
Bobby Brink began her professional career as a flight attendant in 1990, but she soon realized that wasn't for her. Next, she became a restaurateur, but eventually she and her husband's life paths led them here. They opened this place in 2002. She says nowadays her most rewarding moments come from visitors who arrive not knowing anything about the exotic animal trade, but leave educated and motivated to do something about it.
Someday, Brink hopes there won't be a need for places like lions, tigers, and bears.
That is a sanctuary's job, is to try to be putting sanctuaries out of business.
But until that day arrives, Brink, her staff, and her volunteers will continue to expand this special place by building more habitats and by doing the daily work of making life as good as it can be for these animals who have suffered so much. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The new Rady Shell at Jacobs Park will host its first ever concert tomorrow night. Today, the ribbon was cut for the new Bayside venue, and KPBS reporter Melissa May gives us a look.
We'd like to, at this time, ask for blessings upon this new facility here.
A blessing for the new Rady Shell from Native American activist Randy Edmonds.
And bless this new facility that it may be used for the benefit of the San Diego community. Ahodok-e, thank you. I have spoken.
The Shell at Jacobs Park is the new home for the San Diego Symphony. Martha Gilmer is the San Diego Symphony's CEO and is excited for the future of the venue.
The magic of music making is not exclusive, it's inclusive. It does not stop at borders or fences. That is what this space symbolizes and will come to mean in the life of San Diego.
David Schneider is the chair of the San Diego Symphony and sees the Rady Shell as a new beginning for the symphony.
What we aspire to today is a space to be filled with concerts, with events and activity that will raise the human spirit. Today we commence the most important work of the San Diego Symphony.
Sarah Schuster has been the principal oboist for the symphony since 2009. And spoke on behalf of her fellow musicians.
This world-class performance space has enabled and inspired us to play together with far greater sensitivity and accuracy, and will ultimately help us grow together as an orchestra. We can't wait to share our music at the Rady Shell with the San Diego community and beyond.
The Rady Shell is the first permanent waterfront concert venue on the West Coast, and the first Bayside concert venue in the nation to be operated by a symphony orchestra. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Our KPBS Summer Music Series continues with Finnegan Blue. They're a high-energy folk band led by brother and sister musicians Anna Lee and Willie Fleming. Take a listen.
We're all just super tight homies up there on stage. Smiles across everybody's faces, and you know, we're family, we're friends, and usually a lot of family and friends in the audience too. So it's always just good energy coming together to make music.
And with every dream of fantasy, there's nightmares hanging over me. I'm crying out to God to banish Satan from my closet. See to it that I wake up again.
I wrote Run when I was a teenager, and it's one of the tunes that when you hear it back, you find new meanings in it every single time. So that was a song really just about growing up and getting older. So that's something that we all experience every day. So yeah, I talk about Annalie and I growing up. I also reference our grandmother that we wrote Elegy for, and just the different paths that we go on and the sort of things that make us vulnerable. That's why I feel like it's the most appropriate to just play it with Annalie, because it's kind of just about us.
From all this pain and tragedy, I'm crying out to ya to get these demons from my closet.
What I really like about that song too is that it's a very free-form written kind of piece. It's not an A-B, verse, chorus.
Mm-hmm.
It's really Willie just kind of letting his mind put down whatever he felt like saying, and the song goes on a different journey, just like how life goes on a journey.
Where it all began.
It talks about growing up, getting older, experiencing the different vulnerabilities that we have in our lives, and then the way that it kind of ends is just that, yeah, that's life. The world's gonna keep on spinning, but we're gonna keep on singing. So, you know, at the end of the day, there's not really much you can do to control everything around you. So you just kind of got to keep celebrating what you're able to enjoy. And that's why the ending feels very triumphant.
My hands are shaking, my body's aching, and I'm never making it all alone.
And you can watch more of our interview with Finnegan Blue, as well as all of tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. I hope you have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.